Hi, my name is Lyndon Tompkins, and today I'm going to talk you through our new Learning and Training Services Dynamic Purchasing System, or DPS. In today's session, I'm going to run through an introduction into the DPS itself, the background and its purpose, how to access the supplier registration service where all the DPSs are held, the DPS structure, its use and management, and then a short demonstration using screenshots of a customer journey. Okay, so the Learning and Training Services DPS. This came out of a replacement for the Managed Learning Services Framework, which was a single prime vendor agreement. So we released a PIN to notify the market that we were looking at a new agreement. Based on the customer feedback and supplier feedback that we received on this, was that a single prime vendor framework was no longer attractive or fit for purpose. So we started to look at what our other options were. And this is how we came up with the DPS. Now, as part of our sort of discovery and research, we actually commissioned our user research team within CCS to do a survey. And they engaged with both customers and suppliers around the introduction of a DPS. And the overwhelming feedback that we got back was this was the right thing to do. On this slide, you can see in the left-hand side in the quote box, this was the overriding feedback we got back. So customers wanted a flexible purchasing system that provided a quicker, more manageable process to enable them to find both standard and niche training options from a wider pool of pre-qualified independent providers, i.e. SMEs. And this is what hopefully the DPS will achieve. So in terms of how to actually access the DPS, you access this from the supplier registration service, and there's a link at the top of this slide. So on the left-hand side is the homepage. So here you can see you can register as a supplier, you can register as a buyer, and in the blue box in the right-hand side, this is where you can access all of the DPSs. So the next screen shot is the actual homepage of the Learning and Training Services DPS, and in here you can access the bid pack. So for a supplier, this is where you would direct them, but also you can look as a customer to see what was in the bid pack. There's obviously the clarifications, questions that are asked as part of the DPS launch. You can view the appointed suppliers within the DPS. So at any one time, you can go in and see how many suppliers were appointed. And if you click on the suppliers' names, you'll get a snapshot of what services they can provide. Either bespoke training, off-the-shelf training, learning technologies, or education services, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail shortly. And also it covers the learning categories that they provide. Again, we'll go through that later. This is where you also access as a buyer. So you click the access as a buyer link, and this will take you into the login page for the DPS. And it's the same place for the supplier. So you always need to access it through this page. Okay, so in terms of the DPS itself, in terms of its structure, as I said, it's organized into a set of headline filters, and these are the learning categories that I mentioned before. So on here, you can see there's 16 different learning categories. And on the right-hand side, you can see embossed also actual NHS specific ones. So we've got NHS clinical, NHS non-clinical, NHS CPD. So this set of filters hopefully helps you narrow down the selection of suppliers that can hopefully meet your needs. So if there's some sort of NHS clinical type training you require, then you can select that filter and it will show all the suppliers that have indicated that they can provide that type of training and that service. In terms of the service types, I think I've already sort of touched on this already, but in terms of there's 4 different service types. So you've got standard off-the-shelf training, you've got bespoke training, you've got learning technologies, and quite a new one for us is education services. Now this is where potentially the actual training is not going to be consumed by a public sector employee. It could be a member of the general public. So we think about adult education or training for those who are unemployed at the moment. That service type will cover that off. Also underneath, I've put some of the training filters. So again, using the filtering of the DPS, you can hopefully narrow down your search to find those suppliers that can meet your needs. And here you've got a geographical location. So if local provision is important to you, you can search by a postcode radius of your site or other sites. So you can use that to narrow down the field. Data storage and process obviously is very important. So whether that's in the UK or you're happy for the EEA or even outside, again, you can use the filters there. Delivery methods, is this going to be a virtual course? Is it going to be a face-to-face course or a virtual instructor-led course, or a mixture of all three, so a blended hybrid type approach? And then the delivery mode, whether this is an open course, a public course, again, you can narrow down the filters from there. Okay, so in terms of the DPS and the award, we've got two different award routes. So the first one we call Rapid Award, and again, this is sort of a replica of the apprenticeship dynamic marketplace that we've got in place at the moment. So the Rapid Award is only used for standard off-the-shelf training, but this allows you to use the filters to obviously get your supplier selections, but then you can actually export and sort of download information on the suppliers that offer standard off-the-shelf training. So you'll get all their contact details if you need to contact them. You'll get some answers to a supplier prospectus. So all of the service types have got a supplier prospectus attached to it, which is, again, more information about the suppliers themselves and what the services they can deliver. But you'll also be able to export a pricing matrix, which will cover off all the standard off-the-shelf courses that a provider can deliver. Now, one of the stipulations on this which is different to, I guess, previous frameworks, is that the training must be delivered by the training provider. It's not something, it's not an aggregator. If you think of Capita or KPMG, for instance, they've got massive catalogs, but the training is not delivered by them. Whereas this is purely for the training provider themselves, so they can deliver the service. So you're able to run a desktop evaluation, and you can do this in two ways. You can either do this on the DPS itself. So if you want to use some of the other functionality like the DocuSign to send the electronic contract form, etc., you can do that. But if not, you can take this all offline, do your evaluation offline, and they can come back into the system and send your details from there. Okay, and the second procedure is the standard award, or further competition, as you would probably be more familiar with. This is where you can use the filters to down select your suppliers that can broadly meet your needs. And this is where you would run your normal further competition of whether you do this on your own procurement system or offline. That's entirely up to you. But at the moment, there's not a system version, but hopefully that will be coming on board soon, and we're looking for probably April 2022 for that. So hopefully that again will be similar to the Rapid Award, where you'll be able to download and export information from the suppliers, but also use the DPS itself to run your evaluation. Okay, then we come to the award criteria, and as you can see on this slide, we've tried to keep it as basic as possible to sort of help you, but obviously price, quality, and social value, which obviously we know now with the release of PPN 0620 that certainly for central government customers, they must have social value as part of their award criteria. But you can see where you can amend the sort of relative weighting percentages to suit your own needs, be it lowest price or best quality. It's entirely up to you. In terms of the terms and conditions, the DPS core terms are based on the public sector contract, which hopefully a lot of people are quite familiar with now. And this enables you to have, the standard contract itself, but then there's a set of schedules that are, again, optional to depend on your needs. You don't have to use all of them. And we've created some guidance around this to sort of inform you what all the schedules mean and what they're for. So hopefully that helps you make it a little bit easier to sort of navigate through. As I mentioned, if you use the Rapid Award and use the DPS Rapid Award and your evaluation, then you're also able to utilize the DocuSign functionality and send the call-off agreement to the suppliers electronically. They can then sign it electronically and return back to you. But again, you've also always got the option to take these things offline and send them as you would normally do. In terms of the DPS management, we've got our customer service center, the DPS team, and the L&D category team, and all three of us, will help to monitor and manage the DPS. So in terms of customer queries received via Salesforce, the customer service center will help with those. We've also got a process in place to looking at the supplier assurance and self audit to make sure that things like their accreditations are always in date. The MI return. So again, for all appointed suppliers, we hold webinars to go through the MI returns process, so they understand what they need to report each month once they've got a contract in place. Again, we monitor the achievement of the key performance indicators or KPIs to make sure that suppliers are delivering the service that they should be. And then I guess from the category side specifically, we will help the onboarding of new providers. So if you come to the DPS and there's some suppliers that you'd like to be involved in a competition that are not on there, then you can sort of reach out to us and tell us who they are, and we can then in turn reach out to those suppliers and help them with the process and get them on board. The onboarding process is always a question. How long does it take? In all honesty, it can take as little as sort of half a day if a supplier is very prepared. But we generally find it takes probably 3 or 4 days normally for a supplier to onboard. But again, it just depends on I guess A, the requirement, and B, probably how much resource the supplier's got. Okay, so I talked about this before. We talked about having a little demonstration. So I used some screenshots to show you a customer journey. So first of all, we would need to go back to the supplier registration service, where you need to log in. So you can use the link on this page to do that, and which would take you then to the home page, which is on the left-hand side. From here, you can obviously access the DPS, again, as we showed before. And this is the first screen that you'll see once you enter the DPS. So this is the buyer access agreement. So you always need to accept this on every entry basically into the DPS. And here again is your dashboard basically. So this is where you'll see any of the searches that you've done previously. They'll be listed here. Obviously at the moment I haven't got any, but if you see on the right hand side down the bottom under options, you've got create a new portfolio, and this is where you would start, I guess, any new search from. Again, under that again is the pointer supplier link. So it's same as what you've got on the DPS homepage. You can quickly see who the appointed suppliers are already on the DPS, and if you need to, click on their name and it'll show you what service types and learning categories they can provide. Okay, so if we click on create a new portfolio, okay, so once you've selected that, now it gives you the option to choose which award you're going to use. So we've got standard award or rapid award. So you'd select obviously which award that that is going to be covered by your search. So in the first instance, we're going to look at the standard award process. So you click standard. Okay, so once we've selected the award, this would be the first page that you will come to. So this is where you would see, if it was unfiltered, all the list of all suppliers within the DPS. But on the left-hand side, you can see I've selected bespoke training and NHS non-clinical, and that's returned 11 suppliers. So those 11 suppliers have indicated that they can provide NHS non-clinical training in a bespoke environment. So these are the providers that I guess you would take. Initial start would go through the competition. But if you look at the top of the right-hand side, you've got select training filters. So this is where you're able then to use the DPS filtering to start down selecting from these 11. So if we click on select training filters at the top right, this will then take us to the next screen. So if you click that, again, this is what you will see. This is again a list of the different training filters. So this is where it helps you narrow down your search. So training services, you've got specialist training, coaching, learning consultancy and advice, design delivery, or no preference. So you can select no preference to all of these if you want. That gives you the widest choice. But if there's something specific that, like I said, where you need, then this is where you can look in doing it. So I've selected specialist training. Then we get to the delivery method. So you can have e-learning. I've selected face-to-face to show you the postcode radius option. So if it was face-to-face in the classroom, you've got the option there to put your postcode in and select a radius. I think is up to 40 miles. I think is the criteria. On the right hand side of the page, then you've got the whether it's hybrid or blended. So you've got the classroom, workplace, virtual. You can select all of those. Then you've got delivery mode, where there's I guess this is more tends to link to the standard off the shelf training. So is it a closed course, an open course, or a public course? Again, if there's no preference. Then I mentioned before, really important data, so storage and processing. Where do you want that stored? And then obviously there's a checkbox at the bottom that you can apply all of this to the remaining, I guess, suppliers in your list, and then they'll all be, searching this for the same thing. Okay, so once you've done that, you're able to then, on the left-hand side, you can see, I should have actually mentioned that, we started off with 11 based on the filters that I selected. We're now down to 6. So again, this is how the DPS tool helps you with your shortlisting. But on the left-hand side, you've got Save Portfolio, and this is where you save that portfolio, which will then take you back to the home page where you'll be able to see where that is. So you click, you give it a name which is obviously meaningful to yourselves, Save Portfolio, and then we move back to the home page. Okay, and as you can see here, we've got your search there ready. So again, underneath I've tried to put a description of what each link means. So you've got export, view suppliers, update, reuse, and archive. So in this instance, we're going to export the supplier list, so you can see who the suppliers are, what their contact details are, ready for your further competition. So if you click export, you'll see the little pop-up which appears on the right of this slide now, to say you're going to export a supplier list. Again, our recommendation is, if you're not going to be able to complete your process within 2 working days, certainly the searching, the initial search, then you might want to update. You can see the update button in blue as well, because new suppliers are being added to a DPS at any time, so there may be new suppliers that can be added to the pool of your options. Anyway, so if we click continue, you're obviously able to export the file, and this is what the file looks like. So you can see here, this is the 6 providers that we shortlisted. Here's their basic information, so the contact names, contact email addresses, contact telephone numbers, and when they were appointed. So you've got that information. So when you go to run your competition, you've got hopefully the information you need. Okay, so for a rapid award, similar process, but again slightly different, because we've got the option of the desktop evaluation. So if you selected rapid award, when you created your portfolio, again you see this home sort of page. So this time I've selected standard off-the-shelf training, which is the only option available for rapid award. I've selected project and program management as the learning category, and at the moment there's 7 providers that can provide that. So again, following the same process as before, you select your training filters to try and narrow that down a little bit more. And once you've done your training filters, you would then save the portfolio, and you would then be able to get, so then your desktop, I guess, adds a new search to it. This is for the off-the-shelf route, and you can see here you've got some additional options. So we'll go through each one. So again, you can export all the information. So on the right hand side is the zip file that you'll see. So here you can see the standard export means the supplier contact details, like we saw previously. The learning prospectus at the top of the zip file, that is what I mentioned before around more information around the supplier. So information about who they are, what they're able to apply, but we'll see some screenshots of that in a minute as well. And then you've got the pricing. So for each supplier that we've got in our search, you've got the price list of the courses that they're able to deliver. Okay, so again, contact information like we saw before, that hasn't changed. This is the prospectus. So again, across the top is all the questions that we've asked. So again, this is which gives you more information. So that here, this screenshot shows you what the value added services are. Again, what the supplier does in terms of social value, so you can see what each supplier is able to deliver. And again, this may help you narrow down your selections based on the information they've provided. And this is what the pricing matrix looks like. So you've got some instructions in the first tab, so please read that. So there's more information in the standard off-the-shelf training tab. So again, this is where suppliers will put information as well about how they've actually priced things, so if there's anything you need to look out for. And then the third tab, where the learning category where we're in now, this is actually where you list this. This is where the suppliers have listed their courses they're able to deliver. Brief description, the types of delegate mix, duration in hours, the cost, whether exam costs are included, a bit more information on the right hand side. Sometimes there's links in here to go back to the supplier's website and get more information. But hopefully this enables you to sort of look at what the supplier is able to offer, to start compiling your evaluation. As I mentioned before, we talked about using the DPS itself to run a desktop evaluation. So I'll go through what that looks like. So if we select run desktop evaluation, this is what you'll see. So on the left-hand side is the first screen that you're seeing. Obviously here you can, again, view more information about the suppliers. You can download the supplier perspective if you haven't already done that. Once you click continue, it gives you option then to upload things that you want to share with the suppliers, but also this gives you the ability to put in your valuation table. So if you're going to start assessing what the suppliers can offer, you can select you can upload a table as part of your assessment, which then as we carry on, we'll see that can be sort of validated by one of your colleagues or your line manager. Again, so there's almost like a two-stage approval type process. So here I've added in the call-off agreement as an example, and this is where you would add that, but there is the option to do this a little bit later on. So I would probably recommend at this stage just putting in your evaluation table, and then obviously then the people who are going to look at it can see it from there. So obviously the next screen is around what you want to do next. So these are already pre-populated, so you can review an award. And then once you click next question, you're going to get the option then to select someone within your organization to actually review what your evaluation looks like. So like I said, this could be your line manager or another colleague, just so there's that two-stage almost approval to say, yeah, happy with that, rather than just one person being allowed to sort of do that on their own. So obviously when you go back into your dashboard, you'll see that it's now changed to reviewing. And this is where you have to wait, I guess, until your colleague, line manager, etc., can go in and view what you've done already. But again, we've put some explanation around what the tabs mean at this point. This is what the other person would see. So they'll see what the review stage looks like. They will get the option in to see what you've attached. And again, are they happy with what you've done? They can select yes or they can select no. There's a bit more text in there to tell you, why they wouldn't see that. But there you could say, well, there's not enough information, or have we considered this? And obviously then that will go back to the the original buyer, and they can look at it to review again. Okay, so again, this is what I mentioned before around having what the information provided is. You can see then what the attachments, again, what will be uploaded and what would go to the supplier. And so again, you can proceed yes or no here, and then you're able to sign off that part of the desktop evaluation. We then move on to the award stage, really. Again, similar, this is all within the DPS homepage. So once the review of the evaluation has been done, again, you'll see that the dashboard has changed. It's now gone to awarding. So you can award the desktop evaluation there, and there's some obviously text that explains at this stage what the buttons mean. They haven't really changed too much, other than the review desktop evaluation is now gone to award. So you click award, and this would be the next screen. Again, this is here now where you would select which supplier you would like to award to. And obviously they're all ticked, but again, you would select the one that is meaningful to you, as we've done on the next screen. So this is in this instance, the Knowledge Academy would be the one that would be the winning bidder. So again, we would select next. And again, this is where I mentioned before, this is probably the final screen. So this is where you would definitely need to incorporate the call-off agreement. So that would need to be pre-populated, ready. And then you can upload it. And if you're obviously going to use the desktop evaluation tool, this could be sent by DocuSign. So whatever you send will go straight to the supplier. So just be mindful of that. And again, this is what so you've got a little box at the bottom of this page, which you can put in there a note to the supplier to say, congratulations, please return the signed contract within 2 working days. So they've got a bit more information, because the one thing to remember is the suppliers won't see any of this. That they're not aware of you looking at them, exporting their information. The first knowledge they pretty much have is when they receive the call-off agreement. So sometimes it'd be useful just to explain perhaps what it's for, so that them to get a bit more idea of what the call-off's about. Okay. And once you select next on this screen, you'll get the final checkbox to say yes or no you would like to send this notification. So obviously, if you've noticed something that's wrong, or you can go back. But if you're happy and that you want the contract to go to the supplier, you select yes, and off it will go. That concludes the slideshow for today. But if there's any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at info@crowncommercial.gov.uk. Thank you.